Hi, I'm Isabelle Parker. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm also the director of SAGE. I'm really excited to talk to you today about one of my favorite topics. This has got to be hands down the thing that I use the most with clients, the thing that I use the most with myself, the thing I remind myself of every day. Out of everything that we're going to talk about, this is probably the thing that has changed my life the most, okay? But I'm going to start by teaching you one little philosophy in therapy I learned very early on that kind of rocked my world. Okay, so there's this really cool philosophy in therapy called the locus of control. There's an external locus of control, internal locus of control, and what I call the mixed. The internal locus of control says, I believe I have power and influence over what's going on in my life. An external view of locus of control says, I don't have it. It's completely out of my control. Things just happen to me. Basically, I'm a victim of the circumstances of my life, good or bad, right? And then there's the in-between where people believe both. Yes, I do have power and authority over what happens in my life. However, there are things outside of my control that happen, but I'm equipped to respond to them in a way that will be productive in my life. So that was one of my favorite, and I realized I was an internal locus of control person. I believed I had influence and power over what happens in my life. Now, test this theory when you get married and good luck, right? Test this theory when you have children, because all of a sudden you feel like you're completely out of control. You feel like you're a victim, or you are subjected to what everybody else feels, what everybody else thinks, what everybody else wants to do. You feel sometimes trapped in your relationships, in your parenting, in your job, in your marriage, and it can feel very powerless. You quickly start changing to feeling like you have an external locus of control. You start feeling very quickly that I don't have impact over my life. Everything's just going on around me, and I'm a victim. Woe is me. However, I'm going to challenge you. One of my favorite scriptures is in Romans. It says, do not be conformed by the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to be tested and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. See, the world wants us to believe you're a victim. The enemy wants you to believe that so that you won't do anything different. They want you to feel paralyzed that you are a victim of the circumstances around you. But what I'm challenging you is that I believe God wants to renew your mind and change your mind, but not feeling like, wow, I'm powerless. I can't do anything with the circumstances around me because I have no control over these people. But I want you to feel empowered to say, I can change the cycles in my life. See, as a marriage and family therapist, we believe that there's a lot of systems in life, right? There's patterns, and you'll see it in your marriage. You will have the same fight over and over again, and oftentimes you'll behave the same ways over and over again, and you kind of feel like a victim to that pattern. But I'm here to tell you, one thing can change that whole pattern. It may not always produce the outcome you want. I can't promise you that the people around you will behave the way you want to, or you'll get the result, but you will be empowered to know, wow, if I did one thing different. So if suddenly I was the person constantly chasing my spouse into the room, not giving them a timeout, not giving them an opportunity to cool down, and if all I did was stop doing that, then oftentimes you're going to create a huge shift in the relationship, and all of a sudden the pursuer becomes the pursuee, and vice versa. So needing to create change isn't always because we're doing something wrong in these cycles. Sometimes it's you're doing something neutral or even positive that's not creating the result that you want. So it is sometimes about doing something new, different, just to change up the cycle. Something neutral, like, for example, I'm very loyal in my jobs, right? But I'm miserable and hate my job and complain every day. Well, being loyal is a great thing. However, being loyal is stopping you from living your fullest and being what you should be in your circumstances, being what God's called you to do, because I believe that he has called us to be fulfilled. He has called us to be doing the things that he's giving us gifts for. So loyalty might be a good thing, but in this cycle, it may be not a good thing. Pursuing your spouse is a good thing, but when you're arguing and you're not giving them space to resolve themselves and to calm down, it's not a good thing. So oftentimes it's a neutral situation that we just need to shift. Sometimes it's not even a behavior shift. Sometimes it's a mentality shift, right? How I choose to see those around me. Do I choose to see them through a negative light? Do I choose to believe the worst in them, or do I choose to believe the best in the people around me? That can be the change. So how do you create the change in your life? You can create the change by behaving differently. You can create the change simply by doing something different. You can create the change by thinking something different about your experience, right? Sometimes you've heard the expression like, fake it till you make it. Really, that can actually change a cycle that you're in. If we act confident in situations, often we will be more confident and will perform better. Because Be the Change is one of my biggest philosophies in my life, really I use it on a daily basis in my marriage, with my children, in my job. I'm always looking at how can I create change in these circumstances that are causing frustration, or where I feel stuck, or where I feel less than. What is my part? It doesn't mean I take ownership for everything. I just believe I can create a shift in everything that I do. This is not a discouraging thing to know. It is an empowering thing to know that yes, I can't control the circumstances and the outcome, but I can do something different in every situation. I can be the best me. I can strive to be what God has called me to do. I can be content, but also be challenging myself to grow and be better than I was yesterday. Not being discouraged and full of shame all the time. Sometimes that's the change, is viewing how we feel about ourselves. I want you to think today about how you view yourself and others, and how just a little tweak in perception can create change in your life. Let me give you an example. If I say to my husband, hey, I don't have time to do the dishes tonight, can you do it? And I believe the best in my spouse. When I get home, if he's forgotten, because we do have 4 children and those kind of things happen, I can think, wow, we have 4 kids, something must have overwhelmed him, he didn't have time to do it. I can do that. What's going to be my response? Is it going to be anger? Is it going to be frustration? Am I going to come in guns a-blazing with my spouse? No, if I really believe, wow, something must have happened, we have 4 kids, I know it's hard, then I'm going to usually probably come in with compassion and love to my spouse. But if I come in going, he doesn't even care about me, how could he forget to do this? What's going to happen to my emotions? What happens to my body language? Right there, I create a cycle in my marriage by just the perception I'm viewing my husband. I'm going to come in guns a-blazing. How could you? You don't care about me. You don't prioritize what I say, etc., etc., etc. It changes my body language, therefore continuing to perpetuate the cycle that we've been in. So today I want you to look at how can you take one simple situation that you've had and just shifting the perspective of that person. What would your behavior look like differently? How would you feel differently? The story you tell yourself about the things going on around you can create a huge amount of change. So I want you to start with that today, but I want to challenge you. Learning to be the change in every situation is a very empowering philosophy in my life, and I think it can be for you too.